Hey guys, look what came in this week. Let's talk about them. So the idea for this video really comes from a previous video I did. It actually was 2 years ago. I called myself the Gun Santa. And here's a picture from that time. That was a large collection and also an auction that I picked up a bunch of guns from. You can, maybe some of you remember it, but that was a huge hit, had a lot of views. Now today I have this grouping. This is also from a recent auction, but also a collector, actually two collectors who collected mostly P38s. I picked up a lot of really nice guns. Now, as you're looking through these, and I'm going to highlight some of them in a minute, but often I get comments from a lot of you that say, everything you have is pristine, expensive, rare. And one thing I like about this collection, or this particular pickup that we did, is that there's a lot of just normal, common guns in the 80% finish range. Some of them are refinished, some of them are Russian capture. So actually, there's quite a few of these that will be at the lower range. Unfortunately, the lower range is now a lot higher than it used to be. So for example, if we take a look at some of these Lugers, I'm going to show you some shooter grade Lugers. Here's a refinished one right here. Shooter grade Luger, refinished. It used to be a $800-900 gun. Now a shooter grade Luger is about $1,500. But the prices keep going up. We can talk about that a little bit. And I have a lot of P38s. I'm going to highlight some of those as well. There's some rare ones in there, but there's also some shooter grade guns. So there might be something here that you could purchase. Before I pick out individual guns and talk to you about them, I want to do a tribute to Jan Still. Most of you know the name Jan Still, particularly if you collect German pistols. Jan Still was really the greatest influence on my life in terms of my collecting. He was one of the first books that I read. And he did these 4 books. Most of you are familiar with them. They've been out of print for quite a while. He's actually had some health concerns for quite a while. But this week he passed away. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends, and he had a lot of friends. He did start a forum, a collector's forum that became very popular, and I used to be on there all the time. I learned an awful lot from his forums. But on his books, as you can see, he focused a lot on Lugers. And these became the Bible to many collectors. My favorite probably, and I've said to many people, if you only own one book, it would be this one, Axis Pistols. It goes over all the Axis pistols, and I still use it today. I wanted to show you something in here I found interesting. I know his first printing was 1,000, and this one was $973, and you can see it was $43. It's now 10 times that if you can find one. They're easily $450. Now, these books were all written back in the 80s and the 90s. All the pictures are black and white. He has serial ranges. Again, this for me was like the Bible on collecting. And I've had, we've been selling them, but I still have my original copies of all these books. It has the pictures and the serial ranges, and I just used it again today on the serial ranges for some uniques that I'm going to show you. But anyway, I want to give a lot of credit to the life and the work of Jan Still, just a remarkable man and a pioneer in this collecting industry. Really made all of us a lot smarter, and I want to thank him and his family for the sacrifices he made in putting out these books. I know firsthand what it takes to put out a book like this. It's a lot of work, and kudos to Jan, and may he rest in peace. Okay, speaking of uniques, these are the 2 guns that I got in, and both of them, they're beautiful guns, probably among the best I've ever seen. This is a French unique, was captured, well, it was made during the Nazi occupation. Here's the serial range, and there's the Waffen stamp. Now, when I look at that Waffen stamp, I think, wow, that's really sloppy. How do I know that that's real? Well, I went to Axis Pistols, and Jan Still has the serial range, and this one falls in the correct serial range. Just a beautiful gun. It won't last long. Here's another French unique. It's a different variation. This one you can see the exposed hammer. However, this one you see is hammerless, so they're two different models. and again, get information from Jan Still's book, and you see the Waffen stamp. Now the other one was a D20. This one is a Waffen 251, and again, it comes in the correct serial range. I'm going to talk about these two next because I want to get them out of the way, mostly because these will not be for sale. These are two of the guns out of the collection that I would like to keep for myself. I'll show you what they are. Look how beautiful the finish on that is. AC41. You see the matching serial numbers, and the barrel will match, and also the locking block. But what makes this one so special is two matching magazines. There you go, two matching magazines. Very, very hard to find, and it comes with this holster, again, AC41 with a 41 dated holster, getting harder and harder to find. And since this one is so beautiful, I decided to be selfish and keep it for myself. One day they're all for sale, but you'll have to talk to my son about that. Here's the next one I wanted to go over because I actually don't have a nice AC40. Now this one is AC40 and not added. It was actually roll stamped AC40, and I'll show you what I mean by that. There's the serial number, nice high polish finish, and it does have one matching mag, not two, but one. So we have an AC40 roll stamped. Now let me show you one that's AC40 added. Yeah, this one was in the pile as well. So you see here the way it was actually a AC no date. They started making military guns, and they were called the 0 prefix. I have a couple of those, and then they went to just an AC code. And then somebody said, AC no date. They said, why don't we add the date? Hold on, I have a no date. Okay, how cool is this? This is an AC no date. And so after the 0 prefix, which had a Walther banner, I'll show you that one, they had the AC no date. This is a very rare gun. And this one happens to be refinished, which is going to make it a lot more affordable for those who want an AC no date. And I know they're hard to find. You can see the Waffen stamps are pretty clear. It was professionally redone. It's a beautiful job. But there's the no date. So this one was a no date in the A block, so they were no suffix. And then they went to the A suffix. And somebody said, we really need to put the date on it. So then they went back and stamped the 40. You can see the font is very different, and that's how you know it's a 40 added. This one was also reused after the war. They peened out a marking here, but you do have Waffen stamps here. Now compare that added to the AC40 roll stamped because the fonts are the same. So basically we have a no date, a 40 added, and then a standard AC40. Very cool guns. This one comes with a holster that is dated 1940. Okay, I'm going to go a lot more quickly now because we're going to go through this whole row. This is a 0 prefix. They usually had checkered grips. Toward the end of the production of the 0 prefix, they did add these. These actually should be numbered to the gun, and I'll have to check that. Before we do the listing, we will check that. So this is a late 0 prefix, and here's the checkered look. This is what most of the 0 prefix had, was these checkered, and these will be numbered. When the magazine is numbered, it will be right here. Unlike, remember the 40 and the 41, they were numbered on the toe. The 0 prefix has it on the side here. This is not matching, but it is close. These often have painted sights. Don't remove that because many of them from the factory did come with the painted sights. Sometimes red here and white here, sometimes just red here, and sometimes not painted at all. Okay, we did AC40, now we're up to AC41. Here's one in the G block, here's another one in the G block. Oh, how about that? Two in the G block. Neither one of these have numbered magazines. That's an awkward pose, but neither one of these have matching magazines, but they are beautiful AC41s. Here's another AC41, no suffix. So this is an earlier one, has the AC on the trigger. However, this one looks like it was refinished, so it'll be a little more affordable for those of you who maybe can't afford an all-original one. It's a beautiful gun, but I believe it's refinished. I'll double check that. I have to take it apart to make sure, but we'll be offering this one a little cheaper. Okay, now I'm going to confuse you even more because I should have done these sequentially, but this is a 480 code. Those of you who are watching that know P38s, where did that come into play? That's right, think. Write in the comments if you want. Yes, after the 0 prefix, then the 480 code, which was a Waldorf factory code, and then AC. So 480 was just a factory code with no date, but these are from 1940. This is a very rare gun. My memory is that it has it has a magazine that was mismatched. They blotted it out, and then I think they restamped it. That may have been done post-war. I don't think a collector would have done that because it was done pretty crudely. There's no intent to fake. They just crossed it out. But the 480 codes are numbered on the side like the 0 prefix. Here's another AC-40. I know I have a lot of customers been looking for an AC-40. This is a real nice gun. It is numbered, but not matching, but a nice AC-40. Beautiful gun. I have to check the finish on this one. I think it might be correct, but it's a beautiful high polished finish. You see this little drip mark right there, which is classic for the early Waldorf finish. They would often have a drip mark on the right-hand side. You can see here the front strap. Beautiful gun. Okay, here's two interesting ones. This one came first. See the stacked? It's called AC-43. So that's just like the AC-40 and the AC-41, 42, and then 43. They went from the stacked code, which is AC-43, to a straight line, AC-43 in a straight line. And collectors often try to get every one of these variations. This is a beautiful original finish gun, as is this one. I do have one commercial gun here. So while they were making the military guns, if you are a party official or somebody pretty important and you walked in and said, I want a P38, they would make you one and it would be a commercial gun. So these were not made for the general public. They weren't selling these in retail stores. They're making them for the military. They couldn't even keep up with the demand. So we know that it had to be somebody fairly important. This one is, the finish is not great. So will be a little bit cheaper. And the proof mark is an Eagle N right here, and they're also on the inside. But every once in a while, you'll see a commercial gun. You can see the Waldorf logo here. Every once in a while, you'll see a commercial gun with a Waffen stamp here. I don't know if we're going to find one here today. Waffen stamp here, and it just means that it was made for somebody, but then they diverted it to the military because a general walked in and said, "Where's my guns?" And so they real quickly stuck a Waffen stamp on there and sent it out to the military. So those do bring a premium if they are marked for the military. Okay, I'm up to 1944. This is an AC-44, and notice the plum. I just look at the plum on that. This is a plum finish. It just was the way they prepared the metal. And in 1943 and 44, there was a good number of guns, especially commercial guns, that all had plum frames. You can see it on the front strap. You can see it here, and on the barrel, certainly you can see it. So that's just an anomaly, and collectors love that. I also have this one. It says AC-43, but it probably was put together. It was probably put together in 44, but this is an FN slide. So because the AC is bigger than the typical AC, you see right here the typical AC marking. But when FN did it, they used their own die, and the AC-43 is bigger. So this is just a rarer variation. Again, this is peened out. That was a marking that was peened out after the war, but this is a rare variation FN slide on a Mauser frame made in 43 to 44. One other maker is a CYQ, P38 CYQ. This maker, CYQ, is actually the Spree work factory in Czechoslovakia. They did use slave labor. By the end of the war, everybody was, but Spree work was a little more infamous for using slave labor in Czechoslovakia, and this is in the N block. So it's about 1944. This is in beautiful condition. Spree works are getting a lot more respect. There's a lot more demand for Spree work guns now, and we get them in on a regular basis. The rest of these are all like repeats of what I've shown you. This one is also CYQ, not in great shape. You can see the finish is kind of beat up. I think that's the H block, not the N block. And you can see these unique grips to spree work. They're much more red than a lot of the other grips. You can see the difference. A lot of people switch the grips around. I don't recommend that. They think they look better, but I don't want to mess with the history. This one stands out because it is Mauser made, and instead of BYF Mauser, it's SVW, only used in, that factory code for Mauser was only used in 1945. This has a dual tone finish, so it is phosphate, whereas this is blued, and the frame is phosphated as well. It has unique grips, these black plastic grips that were used by Mauser, unique to Mauser. It's a pretty nice looking gun. Has some wear on it, but this is very desirable. I have one more that's really out of place right here. What do you think this is? This is a post-war P-38, and it is also known as a P-1, but it's a P-38 design. You can see the checkered grip. It looks like they went back to the future or back to the past because it looks very much like these early grips. But in fact, they're very different. Well, you can see it here. But if you take these grips off on the inside, it's completely different than this. So this is a completely different grip, but they did go back to that design post-war. This also has an aluminum frame. I can tell by the weight, which makes it somewhat desirable. But people still buy these in 9mm and use them for self-defense. And they were used by police departments all over the world. All right, let's talk about my bread and butter. Here's a PP. Oh, this is a PP and a PPK. These are both commercial guns. They're just really nice finish on them. An early, let's see, that has a 60-degree safety. This has a 90-degree safety, so this is definitely in a pre-war period. This one I can see from the serial number, and it is still Crown N. I think this is about 1938, and it is a high polished finish. This one is pre-war. Oh, so from the serial number, this is before the RZMs. So this is probably about 1931 or 32. Crown N, beautiful polish, and 90-degree safety, which I already mentioned. It has the finger extension magazine, Walther banner only. That's all correct. Like I said, my bread and butter. That's what I enjoy. Oh, here's one. Another Walther PPK. This one, notice the grips are a little bit browner, and that happened as they got later in production. They went from this, I don't know, brighter brown to this duller, almost a chocolate brown, and then they finally went to gray and then went to black. This has an Eagle C police proof. So this was issued to the police. Let's get an approximate date. In this range, even though it has a high polish finish, I think this would have to be 1942. So it's during the war, just before they transitioned to a duller finish. Beautiful police gun. Notice that this chamber is blued. They did that for a period of time. People often tell me that they think it's been re-blued because the earlier guns there was just a white metal. But on this police contract, they did blue the barrel, and so it should. And notice this one, 1938. That's also white metal, polished. Whereas this is blued, and that is correct. Just real quick, this is a model, a Walther Model 4. They did use these for officers' pistols in World War I, and so this was made about that time frame. It's a pretty nice gun, and we'll be offering that. I kind of like them, and the prices are going up. This one, I just did a short video, not on this gun, but one like it, because this is a model 1934 with the Kriegsmarine Eagle. This is closed wing as opposed to the stick wing. Closed wing Eagle, and it does not have the property mark on the front, but it's a beautiful gun, very little wear. A lot of times these Navy guns have pitting or pin pricking because of the salt air. This one is in beautiful condition, beautiful high polished finish. I'm sure it'll sell for a premium. Here's a pretty standard HSC. The finish is somewhat worn. You can see it here, a lot of holster wear. The marking right here is very small, but Police Eagle F, that's a fairly rare contract for the Police Eagle F. And it did come with this holster, so we'll keep them together. Although I would say this holster is ubiquitous, meaning it could be used with any 7.6 caliber German pistol. They are pretty common, but in this case, they came together. Here are two pistols that don't get very much love. A lot of times we throw them on Gunbroker for $1. This is 7.65 and this is 25 caliber. Ortgies, I often say orgies, but I know that's wrong. But these were pretty common pistols. They, like I said, they don't get a lot of love and therefore they sell for a lot less money. And these are in about average condition. You can see they come with two different logos. I know there was a time period. I think this is the later one, I'm not sure. But this is often called a snake logo, and that looks like an HO. Not sure why, but I'm sure somebody will remark and tell me why, and then tell me I'm stupid. But that's okay. I just don't know. And this is a broom handle. I won't really talk about it. It's really beat up, but people still like them. It's a commercial gun. Yeah, this is a commercial gun. Not much finish left. A little bit of fire blue here. You can see the fire blue back here. But for the most part, it's just going to be a cheap shooter grade gun. This stands out because it's an artillery Luger, and this actually is a beautiful gun. Let's get the date. It's a 1918. That was the last year they made, well, it was the last year of World War I. And they did make these up until 1918. Then they stopped, and according to the Treaty of Versailles, they weren't allowed to make them anymore. But they did rework them. Very nice condition, not much wear. You can see halos here, so it's original finish and all matching except for the magazine, I believe. So this one won't last long. There'll be a lot of people interested. I like these guns more and more. This is remember we saw the French Unique? This is a French SACM. Gets the name from SACM. Not sure what that stands for. Again, feel free to tell me. The French SACM, it was occupied by the Germans, and that is the same inspector proof as the Unique. It's a Waffen 251. It's a model, also known as a Model 35. This finish, by the way, is an anodized paint, so it's like a spray paint that they put on there, and this held up pretty well on this gun. This one, actually, it looked a lot like the CZ 38, but it's actually the Steyr. It's a 1917 Steyr. We see the 08, so we know it was converted to 9mm, and that was because it was reworked for the German police. I see an Eagle C here. There's a date right here that says 17, so we know it originally was made in 1917, then reworked during the Third Reich and issued to the police in 9mm. They reworked it then, but also this whole gun has been refinished. The beautiful finish on this is nice, but it's not original. Again, it'll sell a little bit cheaper. Okay, we're on our last row, and I saved the Lugers for last. There's not as many Lugers, a lot more P38s, but a lot of these are going to be shooter-grade guns. This comes with a nice case. It's just a nice embellishment. I'm not sure if that's real or not. The magazine is real, but this is a 1937 S42, and it is a military gun. Yeah, we can see the military proofs here. I'm sure it was a vet bringback, and somebody had this nice case built, put it all together for a family display, but probably when Grandpa or Father died, they sold it, and I picked it up. This is a beautiful finish on this gun, 1910, but it has been refinished. Notice the straw is real bright, the bluing is real bright. From 1910 would mean there'd be no stock lug. The really early ones, see the stock lug, they added those during World War I, and they carried it through the end of production. Stock lug, even though there's very few stocks made, in 1910 there was no stock lug. There's also no hold open, but they did add it, and it was, you can see it was added right here, so they did add the hold open. But just a real nice 1910, refinished, which is going to reduce the price. This one has finish issues, and it is a 1918. Like the artillery, 1918 DWM, finish issues issued to the military. That's a World War II magazine. You can tell because it's not wood. It is aluminum. Aha, this one, going to make some people drool, maybe me, because this is a Krieghoff. 1936 Krieghoff. Beautiful finish, but unfortunately it has been redone. Still, it has quite a bit of value. It has been redone, and some of the markings were recent. These look really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with those. The Krieghoff marking is correct. The 1936 is correct. The serial number looks like it was reapplied because the font is a little bit off. And same way with, not sure about under here. That looks bigger than what I'm used to, but that Luftwaffe marking does look correct. But nonetheless, this one will be a little bit cheaper. The magazine is matching to the gun, but that has been renumbered. So we call it forced matched or post-war numbered. It's got nice fire blue here, but this was all refinished and some of the markings restamped. Still, it's a very collectible gun and become a treasure to somebody. This is a 1939 with some refinished parts, so I'll skip over that. But here's a rare gun. It's a Simpson. Now, there's no P in Simpson, so it's Simpson, not Simpson. But a Simpson from the city of Sewell. And that's a pretty rare gun, too. Now, Simpson, a lot of that equipment and the property all went over to the Krieghoff family because they were Jewish, and we've talked about that before. They had to leave Germany, and they got out just in time, but the factory was taken over by Krieghoff, who was good friends with Goering, and he got a contract to make guns for the Luftwaffe. This one did go to the military. It's a Simpson Luger that went to the military. These sell for a premium because there's not too many made. Condition is not great. It'll go a little bit cheaper. All right, this one looks like a Black Widow, but it's actually not. It's a refinished gun. Notice it's a DWM, so it's impossible that these grips are original, although they might be real. Kurt just did a short about how to tell if they're real or not. I'm going to have Randy check that out. My smeller's not that good, but he went over a short. You can look it up and talks about how to know. If these are real grips, then the grips are probably worth as much as the gun. And so we'll probably, if they're real Black Widow grips, we will save them for another gun because they don't belong on this gun. But this is a nice shooter grade refinished gun. Here's another shooter grade gun. These are post-war grips. I believe they're East German, and often there'll be a Russian X. I don't see one on here, but this is from 1937 with post-war grips. So it was reissued to the East Germans, probably the East German police. Here's another East German gun. This one is 1940-42. Hope you can see that okay. There's the Russian X. And these are post-war grips, I believe, East German. Just two more here real quickly. This is a BYF 42. This could be a Black Widow if it had the Black Widow grips, but we're going to leave it alone because it's got a lot of patina, and that is a post-war magazine. See, it's plastic concentric circles. That is a post-war magazine. And the last one, the last Luger, this is a BYF 41, and I'll have to check the grips to see if they match. But surprisingly, the magazine matches. So we have a matching magazine on this, what I call a brown recluse, but I just made that up. It's could be a Black Widow, but we're going to leave it alone, leave the grips on it, especially if they match with a matching magazine. Okay, I think I just went through a whirlwind. I was talking super fast. I got through a lot of this. Now we have to get all this stuff pictured and listed on the site. So make sure you check out some of these guns, and hopefully we found something for you. Phillies play tonight, Game 4. We're hoping to beat the Astros. No offense, people from Texas. We love people from Texas because they buy a lot of guns.